right. Well, look, it's my wonderful pleasure to introduce what I describe as a bunch of lunatics in the nicest possible way. Welcome all to this session on Play School and using communication tools. If you haven't heard Jane and her crew present before, I use the word crew quite loosely. The last time we saw them, they were pirates. Now they're dressed up as children's entertainers. I'm not going to steal the thunder of them explaining what Play School is and its Australian relevance, but without further ado, on behalf of the iMoot team, thank you for presenting. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Julian, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for being here. Could someone give me something in the chat pod to say you can hear me? Yeah, thanks. As you know, the theme of iMoot this year is open. We kicked around some ideas about OPEN being an acronym, or open being about open education resources, or Moodle being open all hours. Then zap, it hit us. Open wide, come inside, it's Play School. That's from the theme song of the long-running children's show. You may be familiar with it, maybe not. And Play School is about being engaged whilst learning. Isn't that a major part of what Moodle is about? In keeping with the theme, you can call me Princess Jemima. Also with us today are Big T and Humpty Doo. We work in adult education at TAFE NSW New England Institute. We've got varied backgrounds, but we have in common the role of Moodle administrator and trainer. We'd like to know where you're from.
Hi, Jane. Sorry to interrupt. The audio is just coming through a bit choppy. You're sharing a video file. Maybe one thing you could do is do you need to have video shared during the session, or if you could maybe turn off the broadcast of video. Okay. If you're there's a local, there's a 1-800 number for United States, and we've got a local number for Perth as well. But I think, Jane, if you're broadcasting video, if you could just turn off your webcam, that should cut down the traffic that's coming out of your computer, and then you can try continuing then.
Jane has just texted me. Jane's just messaged me to say she's got the blue screen of death. So I'll give her the phone number.
Okay, no worries. Once have her refresh the browser. No, there's no panic.
One moment.
Just have her refresh the browser and just dial in, and this is all right. Plenty of time.
Okay, I've sent her that message.
Where is she located?
Must have been that terrible country music. In Tamworth. Is my sound choppy as well?
Yours is perfect. I think it might have been Jane, depends on her upstream bandwidth, and she was broadcasting video, which takes a good chunk of bandwidth as well. So if she just logs back in and maybe doesn't broadcast video, her audio might be good. But if she just calls the conference bridge, she should be fine as well.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay, well, we'll just give her a moment and see where she's up to. Maybe when she comes back in, we might be able to get her to start the recording. Oh, okay, she wants the PIN. It was 20,000, is that right?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it is. The PIN number is 20,003, 20003.
20,003. It's got a new number. Yep, I've just sent that to her.
Okay, I'll see her join, and I'll see her when she
She's
comes
on
in the
now.
chat.
Anybody there?
See her phone number? Yep.
Oh, there you are, Jane.
676.
You can hear
Hi,
me?
Jane.
Yep.
Oh, thank goodness for backup systems. I got blue screen of death. The computer died.
Okay. Well, just talk a little bit louder. We'll hear you. If you don't mind,
Welcome
just shouting
back.
a little bit into your phone. You'll come through
Yeah.
pretty clearly. Please continue.
Sorry, what did you say about just talking into the phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just talk a bit louder, Jane, but we can hear you.
Okay. Have we done the icebreaker yet, ladies? Oh, maybe you can't talk. Okay, so if you would type your location in the chat pod, if you haven't already, that would be wonderful. Because we'd like to get to know you as you get to know us. Please take part in the session by chatting in the box in the bottom right. And we'd love it if you tweeted comments and questions to #iMootB2. B2 or B02 is this session, Stream B Session 2. But can anyone guess why B2 is also relevant to our talk? I bet some of you have, and it's B2 is one of the bananas in pajamas who got their start on Play School. We're going to have a prize for the best tweet with our hashtag. And we'll show you the hashtag again through the session. The prize is we will make you an avatar based on your personality profile. So we'll use the latest profiling techniques. So here we are to talk about some of the features of Moodle which make learning fun. They are by no means the only communication tools open to Moodlers. There's nothing stopping you using social media, for example, and putting a link in your Moodle course. Two of the Moodle tools we'll talk about today are activities, that's forums and chats. Two are blocks, blogs and messaging. One's a plugin, dialogue, and one, avatars, crosses all the boundaries. So Big T, aka Judi, please tell us the different ways avatars can be used in our courses.
Thanks, Jane. Bit of a hiccupy start there, but we'll get on with it. Okay, I am going to talk to you a little bit about avatars, but before I do, again, I'd like to just check that everyone's hearing me. I believe that you are, but if you could just type in the text that my voice is coming through well. How's that? Fantastic. Righto. There's a bit of a problem with my slide moving on. There we go. Oh, no, it's gone back again. Okay, so I'm discussing the use of avatars today, and what I'd like you to do if you're not already multitasking, and knowing the group that we have out here, I'm sure there's quite a bit of multitasking going on. I'd like you to get your QR code reader ready, as I've got a little activity for you to do a little later in the session. So I'm discussing the use of avatars in Moodle and in online learning in general. As educators and deliverers of professional development, we'd all be aware that by establishing the basis for a learning community at the outset, the instructor sets the stage for discussions that can be rich, valuable conversations that engage students and contribute to learning. Adding an avatar to your profile follows the theory of social constructivism, upon which Moodle is based. Following points are noted on moodle.org with regard to that. All of us are potential teachers as well as learners. In a true collaborative environment, we're both. We learn particularly well from the act of creating or expressing something for others to see. We learn a lot by observing the activity of our peers. By understanding the context of others, we can teach in a more transformational way, and that's constructivism. A learning environment needs to be flexible and adaptive and adaptable so that it can quickly respond to the needs of the participants within it. I've noticed that Trisha's mentioned that she's actually a frog on her Moodle. good to know. I think you can see that we've got our avatars on the front page. Why would you use an avatar? In a white paper entitled 3 Ways to Engage Students Online, author Jeff Borden highlights an important factor in instructor presence in online delivery is to actually personalise the instructor. This increases instructor immediacy and communicates to a student that there is a human being teaching their course. Some suggestions for achieving instructor personalisation include posting an instructor bio written in a friendly tone, including a picture or avatar in the profile page, self-disclosure in communication, including instructor voice recordings in the course, using humour, which obviously we are trying to do today, and using first person in course communications. Do you have an avatar as part of your profile? Do you encourage your Moodle or users or online learners to add their own? What are the implications if you don't add images to your Moodle course? Feel free to add your comments in our chat or tweet them using the hashtag iMootB2. I've noticed that people are already into the QR code, so that's fabulous. We've got a bit of advice happening. That's what we like to see, a bit of support. Adding your avatar to your Moodle course is simple. It's choosing the one that most reflects your personality and interests that takes the time. To add an avatar to your profile, simply go to the edit page and upload an image. Choose the desired image and save your changes. Where will I see the avatar? The avatar appears all over the place, from the online users block to the posts you make in forums. Which avatar creator to use? And that's where this little code comes in. That's got the 10 top sites to create an avatar. Dane, Mari, Louise and I are fans of WeMe, and truly, we have more clothes in our WeMe closets than we do in our own cupboards at home. Could you believe that? I will now hand over to Mari Louise, or Humpty Doo, for the next section of our presentation on the communication tools in Moodle. I have to find where she's sitting on the screen here and give her rights. There she is.
Hello.
Thanks, Mari Louise.
Thank you. Thank you, Big T. I'm just going to move. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Look, it's Humpty Dumpty here, but you can call me Humpty Doo. It's my nickname. You'll see that, but firstly, look, thank you to Judi for her talk on avatars. Avatars are a great way to create an online identity, and we certainly had fun creating our own avatars for this session. So hopefully everyone can hear me. Yep, good to go. So this year, well, this iMoot theme this year is open, and I like to think that our communication tools are just that. Inclusive, informative, informal, just to name a few. Now, when we look at the ubiquitous Wikipedia, their definition of forum comes up with some interesting points. Wikipedia mentions forums as an open space. So a physical open space like the Roman amphitheatre of old, or perhaps a more modern take on this could be the soapbox oratory in your local park. And Wikipedia also mentions forums as internet discussion. So a forum is a venue for open discussion or dialogue that does not need face-to-face boundaries. Just a quick question to everyone in the session at the minute. Just who uses forums and what do you like about them? So if you'd like to kind of pop there in the chat pod, if you use forums, and what do you get out of forums? What do you like them? Love forums, fantastic. So I'm probably speaking to the converted here. Yeah, definitely. Good due to the threading. Sure. And look, certainly there does seem to be a little bit of monitoring of forums, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I've got my 4-minute spot, so I'll so while you guys are writing some stuff in the chat pod, I'll just make a comment that if you were to Google forums, you'd find a plethora of forums with the following themes: talking to others, reading about others' experiences, connecting, basically communicating. And if you have a burning question or a hankering for knowledge on any bizarre topic, there will be a forum for you. Forums are also asynchronous, which simply put means not occurring at the same time. And when I think of asynchronous, I imagine a group of synchronous swimmers on an off day in the pool. But if this analogy doesn't float your boat, then asynchronous just means not at a predetermined time. So we've established that forums are popular, asynchronous, and cover an infinite range of topics. So now let's have a brief talk about forums and the fabulous role they hold with education. Forums can be used to drive discussion, post questions, pose questions, upload material, compare, contrast, assess, and create a community of online thinkers. And critically, posts can be made at the same time, at any time of the day, I beg your pardon. So who is a forum's target audience? Really, anyone who has a question, anyone who has an idea or wants to share their experiences. And as a hint, there does need to be some level of monitoring, I find, with forums, particularly with new groups. There's some good comments there about in terms of giving a voice to perhaps the quieter students in the class. As the facilitator, one needs to be aware of online etiquette, of course. The facilitator does need to engage with the learners or participants by, for example, making posts to the group or individual learners, basically helping keep up that initial momentum until the new group begins to take on its own individual momentum. In summary, I love forums. I use them in my own course, and I find they're a great tool to bring a group together and to create stimulating discourse and engagement. I'm interested to hear how you use forums as a communication tool. And thank you. And over to Princess Jemima.
Thanks, Humpty-Doo. Let's get the next slide up here. Oops. I just came up with permissions already. Oh. The names in the attendee list keep jumping around for me and I keep losing the presenter rights. Messaging. Sometimes called messages, sometimes messaging. Perhaps you've seen it on the front of the Moodle site. Often it's inside a course. When you log in, a message may pop up on your screen, or maybe at your institution it's been disabled. Actually, if you want to discuss that, have a little chat down in the right there now, if you have opinions on that. Messaging is a handy tool for teachers to remind someone an assignment's due, or for a student to say hi, or I'm absolutely lost to another student. When I'm training staff to use Moodle, I often introduce messaging early, as the staff always have fun with it, but it can get out of hand and I have to put a time limit on it during the training. And yes, I run the risk of, during the session, the participants may message each other and go, oh God, this is a waste of time, isn't it? But I think it's better to have the open line of communication rather than try to run it strictly down the line. Messaging is not just available via the messaging block. Next time you're logged into Moodle, check out the people or participants block, online users block, or click on someone's avatar and you'll see you can access messaging from there. If messaging's getting to be too much for you, you can go to your Moodle profile and adjust the settings of which messaging notifications you receive. For example, do you want to receive an email as well as a message? You don't have to have both. So consider messaging next time you're looking for a tool which is fun, engaging, quick, and easy. And don't forget, you can go over to the iMoot site and message us if you like. Big T, I believe you have a tool which is a little more asynchronous.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Princess Jemima. The next of the communication tools that I'm going to discuss today are the use of blogs. And again, according to the ubiquitous Wikipedia, most blogs are interactive. They allow visitors to leave comments and even message each other via the widgets on the blogs. And it's this interactivity that distinguishes blogs from other static websites. Again, Moodle Docs provides some useful information about blogs. And you will notice that throughout our course, our presentation today, we've tried to incorporate some information from Moodle Docs because it's an absolute wealth of information. It's a great starting point, and we use it quite regularly when we're looking for answers to some of our burning questions. So blogs are available within Moodle. Each user has their own blog and can also register their external blogs, such as Blogger or WordPress, so that the entries are actually automatically included in their blog or vice versa. Blogs can be used to nurture writing and reflection, with memes used as a framework to scaffold reflection and encourage discussion. I've noticed that in the chat there's been discussion about a lot of these tools are for written purposes, and that is tricky for people who have literacy issues. I have a background in literacy teaching, and I understand exactly where the comment was coming from about things being written. I think we need to also think about the ways in Moodle that we can use the recordings, the options to actually record your blog using some of these wonderful tools that are now available. Posts in a blog can easily be brought into the Moodle blog and exported to an external one. So if you'd like to teach using blogs, you can coordinate your internal blog from Moodle and, for example, your external WordPress blog in a variety of ways. Within Moodle, there's also a forum type entitled Standard Forum displayed in a blog-like format, which may be useful for users. Even if you don't have a blog yourself, a blog has great potential for learning journals for students. Again, written but could be recorded. A blog entry can be associated with a current course if the post is created from within the course, and that's done pretty easily by using the add an entry about this course from the blog menu block. I'd like you to check out the website. I'm going to post it in the chat in a moment. And the website that I want you to have a look at some stage is called Addicted to Success, and it's about the 10 famous multi-million-dollar bloggers. It's quite an interesting blog. I'm just trying to multitask, as you can probably tell, and it's not quite working, so I'll do that in a moment. It's great. It's got a whole lot of interesting bloggers that are about the place that give us some really good food for thought. And on that point, I think it's probably a good idea for us to think about, are blogs relevant in today's educational environment? There's a lot of discussion about it. Are they outdated? Are they old-fashioned? Do they have a place? And how would you use them effectively? We've got some conversation happening in the chat, and I know from my multitasking that there's a lot of conversation happening in Twitter, which is great. There is much discussion about the usefulness of blogs versus social media, and one scholarly article that's a valuable read is one entitled How Social Media Does and Should Impact on Higher Education by Mark Blankenship, and we have that link there on the page, and again we'll put it into the chat for you in a moment. In that article, mention's made of a recent survey conducted by the Babson Survey Research Group, which noted that in classrooms 30% use social networks to communicate with their students, and 52% use online videos, podcasts, blogs and wikis during class time. I think that article contains some interesting commentary, and this aspect of communication will absolutely foster more discussion. There's some really good information and comments coming in the chat. I'm actually going to hand over again now to Humpty Do, Louise, and she's going to discuss the chat module activity in Moodle. And while she's doing that, I'll put up those couple of links for you. Thanks, NL.
Thanks, Big Ted. Thank you, Big Ted. So look, let's have a quick chat about chat. We all do it, but what could be better than a one-on-one conversation with our facilitator or our teacher or our leader? So here's a little snapshot of chat, the chat function in Moodle. One point to make about chat is that it is mostly asynchronous, and I'll explain what I mean by mostly. So by mostly synchronous, I mean that the communication that you're having is in real time. It's as in right now. So when we imagine that group of synchronous swimmers all performing their graceful pool moves together, they would definitely win a medal as they are in sync. So what could be some of the advantages of chat? Chat sessions can be set up for regular times or regular days per week. So for example, as a tutorial time. The chat notes can be exported and the chat sessions can be saved. The facilitator can set up a specific day and time for chat, as mentioned earlier, and these sessions can appear in the Moodle calendar to alert your participants. However, these calendar alerts can be manipulated using the eye icon or through conditional activities. The facilitator can decide if the participants can view old chat sessions or not. The participants can actually also access these chat sessions before the scheduled sessions. So this is where there's that asynchronous element to chat as well. So how do we set up a chat session? Click that magic button, Add an Activity or Resource, and select Chat. Just make sure your instructions are clear for that chat session. And a special little hint from me, Humpty Dumpty Doo, give the chat room a name that has some meaning for your participants. So for example, holiday suggestions or how to retire early from play school and live at large in Copacabana. There are also some cool additions you can add to your chat lines, and I mean this in a Moodle sense. And you can actually see just from the box on the screen at the minute that this is a bubble format. And you can see that our Hugh and our Nicole are having a deep and meaningful here. And the other option in terms of that bubble format is a line, just a standard text line. But I quite like the kind of the little funkiness of the bubble format. So there are, as I mentioned, some cool additions you can make to your chat lines. Smileys, you actually need to have your Moodle admin open up that or assist you there to make that happen for you. Links, any website will automatically be converted into a link, and beeps are kind of sort of like a poke in Facebook. So this is chat in a nutshell. I have to admit, I wasn't overly taken with the chat function when I first looked at it, and I wonder whether social media and mobile communication tools have bypassed the need for this chat function, but I have to say that I actually find myself interested in its possibilities. So lovely audience, I'm keen to know, A, if you use the chat function, B, how you use it, and also your experiences with using this function as a communication tool. And with this in mind, we've got a chat session set up for 3 o'clock this afternoon, so please join us. So thank you, and I'd like to hand over to Princess Jemima for her monologue on dialogue.
I'm just wondering if we've lost Jane.
Jane, how you going?
Oh no, there's Jane. You're right, Jane.
Yeah, we can see her. Yeah, she's up there. She's just muted her microphone for a minute, so, but she's back in the room.
I'm always
yeah, she does. Yeah,
child. Here we go.
Here she comes.
Here we go. I was saying I like Trish's idea about the chat room being used like a drop-in centre or tutorial centre. That's a really good use. But my tool next is Dialogue, which is a plugin which can be added to your Moodle site if it hasn't been already. The current maintainer of the plugin says officially messaging has replaced Dialogue. But although there is some similarity, there are features of Dialogue which messaging can't provide. For one thing, you can attach files to a dialogue. There's also a 30-minute window in which the user can fix any errors to their post. And because a dialogue usually only appears inside a course, unlike messaging, the teacher or facilitator can play around with the permissions for the dialogue in that course or control how it's used more easily. For example, you can take away the permission for the student to initiate a dialogue. One thing I like about dialogue is you can set a time when the dialogue can be removed, when it's out of date. I hear dialogues very popular at universities. If there's someone here from the university sector, you might like to back that up in the chat pod. Tell us how you use dialogue. At our institution, teachers use it to get individualised learning plans to each student. Sure, the teacher could just email it, but why not allow Moodle to keep records of everything which passed between the teacher and student? Dialogue lends itself to a longer conversation than you get with, say, messaging. There's a great tip about dialogue on Moodle.org, and that is to set up a dialogue with each student at the start of the course. The student is more likely to know or to let you know they've got a burning question or problem if they don't have to initiate the first contact. I have my own tips for those creating a dialogue. And tip number one is when you're adding the activity, which is a dialogue, during that process, click the Show Advanced button in the dialogue settings. Then you'll see that not only can you set up a teacher-to-student dialogue, you can also set up a student-to-student or an everybody-to-everybody dialogue. And if you don't have the Show Advanced shown, you wouldn't know that. Second tip is you can open a dialogue with a group of students, but only if you're a teacher in the teacher or non-editing teacher role. If you're an admin, you might use it and think there's actually something wrong because you can't seem to set up a dialogue with the group. But you need to be in the teacher role. I can see some chat there about dialogue. I think that's too much for me to take in at this moment. I'm going to hand over to Big T, and it's time to wrap up. So, Judi, what would you like to tell us?
Because we're running a little bit ahead of time, I'm just wondering whether or not it would be possible for one of our facilitators to open the mic for people who may like to make any comment. I don't see that there's a way that people can raise their hand to be able to chat or to speak. So I'm just wondering if we could use the chat. If someone would like to write in the chat, if they'd like to make any comment about the communication tools. There's been quite a lot of comment through the chat, and okay, you can raise your hand. There's an icon below the users list.
Hi, Judi. This is Fred.
I haven't found that yet. Oh, yep. I can only lower a hand, so I can't raise mine.
You won't see it.
Yeah, Fred.
But you have everybody who's joined as a viewer has the ability to raise their hand, and actually everybody has the ability to mute and unmute themselves as well. So if anybody would like to talk, just type in the chat or try unmuting
Excellent.
yourself. If the microphone works, go for it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Fred. I noticed that Shane had his hand up, I believe. So if Shane, was it Shane? Stuart. Stuart had his hand up. Would you like to take the mic, Stuart? Things have gone very quiet, so I hope you're hearing me. You did, but you were only practicing, Stuart. Beautiful. Okay, so anyone else? Is there anyone who'd like to make any comment about the communication tools? If not, then I'll continue on. It's okay, Stuart. Causing trouble again. I don't think that was very much trouble. Doesn't look like we've got anyone who would like to make any other comment. That's a pity. Never mind. Well, I will move right along with our conclusion, and then you'll have time for a break before you go to the next session. Yes, please. Is that Teresa? You'd like to make a comment? So if you'd like to unmute yourself and take the mic. See what happens with Teresa. I'm hearing some sound, but I'm not hearing a voice. Teresa? Maybe she's dropped out again. She seems to be having a bit of trouble with the technology today, or the internet. Okay, I'll wind up, I think, because I think that would be sensible. Look, first of all, what I would like to do is thank our fabulous presenters, Princess Jemima and Humpty Doo, for their great work today, and the preparation that we've put in has been probably pretty good for us, because we've learned a little bit about some of the communication tools that perhaps we didn't know before. So our goal was to present you an introduction to the use of avatars, forums, messaging, blogs, chat, and dialogue, and that was as a means of following the theme of open for iMoot 2013. The development of a robust online learning community is an important key to engaging students, learners, participants, no matter what age or stage in the learning process. The communication tools outlined in our presentation are examples of a positive way to foster both learning and a sense of community. According to McGowan 2007, online course construction also requires the instructor to build virtually what are often conveyed through physical or vocal cues, such as the setting, tone, time parameters, communication style, etiquette, even humour or encouragement. All of these aspects must be designed and transferred quite consciously and deliberately into what is a primarily text-based world. Bill Gates has provided this fantastic quote that fits perfectly with our session today. I'm a great believer that any tool that enhances communication has profound effects in terms of how people can learn from each other and how they can achieve the kind of freedoms they're interested in. So consider the use of the communication tools in Moodle. As we say, open wide, come inside, it's Play School. Continue the conversation via Twitter or via the forums in our iMoot course. And truly, there's no better way to understand the tools than to have a play. Thank you for taking the time to join our presentation today. Team from Tamworth in New South Wales, Australia, look forward to continuing the conversation about the communications in Moodle via Twitter or in the forums of our iMoot course. And of course, at our live chat at 3 p.m. Australian time today. I'll actually hand back now to Julian, who is our facilitator, and thank you all for taking the time to join in and enjoy the rest of the conference.
I have so little to add that has already been said. Thank you on behalf of the entire iMoot team for your fantastic presentation. You always make these things a lot of fun, and I think the interaction you're seeing in the chat alone has shown how successful you've been with that. On behalf of the entire team, thank you very much for presenting. As was mentioned, I always like to highlight this myself at the end of each session. This is not the end of the conversation, it is just the beginning, and that was all we just said. Use the forums, use Twitter, use the hashtags. We will be setting up a place for people to be able to collaborate as well, a couple of break rooms, and this will be coming online in the next hour or so. But please do keep these communications going and think more about how you can create these interactive environments, and I think we'll all agree it only makes a better session.